Did I tell you about the online survey that we did?
No, go on.
Which was with an ethnoPanel. In other words, people we'd specially recruited who could make films for us, who had uploaded films in the past. They had the inclination, the interest, the enthusiasm, etc., and the infrastructure to do it.
Yeah.
To do it. And when we did a trial survey, thank goodness we didn't invite any clients on board to sort of part fund it. Nobody replied.
Yep.
It was heartbreaking.
Yep.
What do you think could have happened?
Okay. Well, there's this ratio, 89, 10 and 1. There's the 89% on the web who just have a look. There's the 10% that comment or think this is quite interesting and forward, and there's the 1% that actually made any of the stuff in the first place. What you are asking those people to do is to be part of the 1%. So the challenge we've got is that when you go out to set up a sample, and I hear what you're saying, that they're a super ethnoPanel, fine. So you maybe cut out 30–40% of your internet base, but having said that, you therefore even the odds up to being 2 or 3% who may be caught on an off day. So one of the problems we have to start with is that we're actually asking people to make something from scratch, okay? Or even to a brief, which if you think about it is harder. It could be harder or easier depending on how you look at it. You're actually going to get very low levels of participation. So how do we solve this? The way we solve it is through what I would call supermoderation. Supermoderation is where at the start of every group, offline, there's a standard way of the moderator, in a very artificial way, setting up the ground rules. And in the ground rules, people get a chance to speak. That's because if people haven't spoken before and they haven't even heard the sound of their own voices, in an offline group, there's very little chance that these people will ever say anything in the whole group anyway. So it's a way of getting them started. You reassure them about the role of the researcher. You get them talking about something which is not so important. Because actually, technically, we should throw the first 5–10 minutes of a group away anyway, because people haven't got into the groove yet, they're still performing. Often you'll find half an hour into a group, people will be telling you stuff which was pre-prepared, their script which they came along with, which usually we're not that interested in. Now, if you imagine that in this industrial model of research, we have a very rigorous procedure for starting people off. If you're trying to move between a few percentage to increase to a larger amount, then you're going to have to moderate your way to that.
So it's about really engaging people in a way. You were talking about stimulating them, yes. Getting them to provoking them in some way.
Yeah, it's all of those things. I mean, one of the ways I've described it is the difference between being someone who knows how to throw a great party and someone who knows how to be a bouncer. Your average researcher knows how to be a bouncer. First of all, they don't let the wrong people in. Secondly, they don't let the client hear anything which they don't think should be allowed in the club. So that's, to me, what research is doing now. When you throw a party, there'll be lots of purists shouting about representativeness and whatever. Maybe the wrong people are in there. Maybe they're in there for the wrong motivations. You know, if the party is swinging, who cares? And the argument is that in the end, the client would rather pay for a party that they can build their business on than some club which is well regulated and where the wrong people never get into make trouble. And to me, that's the difference between them. And therefore, I mean, if we're going into the kinds of content that are there, the tradition, of course, is the moderator provides all the content. That won't wash it. The idea that I'm going to keep you interested by saying, oh, C-Mac's flagging a bit, so here's a Nando's menu, and tell me what you think about this. Rorzak inkblot of the Nando's menu. You know, what are we doing here? Okay. Wouldn't it be easier to say, tell me something that you found interesting which relates to the conversation we're having? When's the last sort of thing which comes to your mind? Will you tell me what that is? Now, you will produce your own stimulus material, and then you'll explain it to me. By the way, it won't have been the stimulus material I would have chosen, and the chances are I won't understand it, so you have to explain it to me. That in itself is a much richer way to work than me simply asking you questions and saying, you seem a strange person because I never saw a mad axe murder in the middle of this, whatever else. I'm exaggerating, you know what I'm saying. If you get to choose your Rorzak inkblot, whatever the stimulus is, it's a much, much richer process, and that's really what we haven't had.